Hi listeners, this is Pranesh Kumar from Department of English, and in today's session we'll discuss non-verbal form of communication, otherwise called as body language, and how it contributes to one's personal success. You must be familiar with the saying that action speaks more louder than words. Of course, it's true. Action can speak louder than any words that human beings can ever utter. And sometimes people might have come across a situation where you were successful in answering all the questions in an interview, but at the end of the interview you did not get your order. Or maybe another situation where you made a stunning presentation and you were happy with the presentation, but of course the audience response was not that good. If you have ever come across any of these kind of a situation, then it's time to better tune your body language. Human beings started communicating via non-verbal form of communication long before they started communicating via the sound that produced from their vocal cords. See, this is not only restricted to human beings or Homo sapiens, but even in the animal kingdom we have non-verbal form of communication. For instance, how honeybees communicate. You must be familiar with that. Honeybees communicate through actions and whatever the feelings be. Sometimes if there is happiness ahead or if there is a danger ahead, they communicate with each other with non-verbal form of communication like gestures. One more thing, among human beings, politicians, movie artists, and any people under the limelight and speakers like orators are some of the people who express or exhibit their body language to the fullest. The information which we have or which we are about to convey is inside our body, and our body acts as a vehicle through which this information is being displayed. If the primary purpose of the spoken word is to communicate data, information, or something related to that, then non-verbal forms of communication or body language communicates your attitude, your feelings, and your emotions. See, even a child who is deaf and blind frowns, smiles, blushes, and also cries, which very well says that these non-verbal forms of communication are universal and it need not be taught. It's acquired. And sometimes we also feel that some of these expressions are regional biased or like some expressions are cultural biased. For instance, what you practice in Middle East will not be applicable in the West. What is being practiced in the East, like countries like Japan, they may differ in terms. But apart from all these things, there are certain universal body language expressions like smiling, wide-eyed expressions, frowning. All these things are universal, and it can be applied to the entire human species. See, again, body language can be classified into positive body language and not and negative body language. So, positive body language expresses your positive qualities, such as the quality of being happy, engaged, and being vibrant will be conveyed in a strong manner. And when it comes to negative nonverbal communication or negative body language, it shows or it conveys to the viewer that you are how sad you are sometimes and how unhappy. Yeah, both are the same, but your weakness and your dullness is being communicated to your through your negative body language. And a study conducted by the University of California, Los Angeles, states that only 7% of what you communicate happens through words. The rest 38% happens through the quality of your voice modulation, and things related to that. And a 55% of what you communicate actually happens through non-verbal form of communication, like gestures, postures, facial expression, and related. Just imagine that a 55% of what you actually communicate happens through your non-verbal form of communication, and only 7% happens through your words. See, when it comes to gestures, any movements that you convey, that you express through your palm or your hands, can be branded as gestures. And as such, we have positive and negative gestures. Sometimes you have this palm up, palm down, pointing to someone, and open wrist, open palm, closed wrist. So these are some of the common gestures which people use. And one thing about gesturing is that the only organ in human body which has umpty number of neural connections with your brain is nothing but your palm. That's why any skill which you learn or which you want to acquire, like playing a piano or maybe driving, you think, and then your brain send the impulses to your palm so that you can execute the job through your palm. And again, people who experience initial stages of stage fear while making their presentation can also ease themselves by making use of gestures, if they like, especially when it comes to shivering, which is a sign of stage fear. So at the initial stages, if you make use of your gestures, you can through some extent come out of this shivering. And eye contact. Establishing and maintaining eye contact comfortably with another person is the basis for successful communication. It conveys to the listener that you are interested, or you're trustworthy, you can be relied, you're honest. All these emotions, all these feelings are conveyed to the listener just by your eye contact. And in general, people tend to look towards things which interest them, and they also look away from things which are which they don't like, which they dislike. And it is also being told that eyes are the gateway to the soul. And the person who is interested, if you are interested to a person to whom you are speaking, then you will have this dilated pupils. And if you are not interested to the person to whom you are speaking, then your pupils will be constricted. The Chinese philosopher Confucius says that look directly into a person's eye and he can't hide himself. So to that extent is eye contact, and especially when it comes to students, and during an interview, or maybe when you converse with a teacher, with someone who is superior to you, the way you maintain eye contact tells it all, whether you can be relied, whether you are truthful, whether you are trustworthy, and things like that. And a person who walks with his head held high and open chest gains everybody's attention. And to that extent that I have also heard HRs who conducts interview claiming that, by the way a candidate walks into my cabin, I am able to decide if this particular candidate is fit for this job, for the selection process, or will he succeed in the interview. See, to that extent, it's more powerful. And one happy news about body language is that, because earlier there was another thought which said that body language is something which cannot be mimicked or imitated. It is to the full, to the core, an unconscious process, and it comes from within you. But the happy news with the experts on body language like Amy Cuddy and others is that body language is something which can be imitated for positive outcome. For example, you can very well imitate the non-verbal cues or or symbols or signals of successful people. You can see that, you can try imitating that until it unconsciously comes to you, so that finally you succeed and success is yours.